You're getting the continuation of a journey of 1,000 handles. So it all starts with a lump of clay. And that lump of clay that's an interesting aspect of this clay. How far back does the molecules in the clay go? So clay is formed by a variety of processes, and the basic components of it being silicon in very fine forms. So different clays have different colors, which represent minerals. This happens to be a white stoneware, kind of a high kaolin mix. Because I have a pug mill, I recycle clay all the time, and thus the recycled clay is a byproduct or a mix of stoneware and porcelain. The porcelain comes from a friend of mine by the name of Ellie, mostly Ellie. Sometimes I get English porcelain, and whatever I don't need or what ends up being slop ends up in this clay also. But most of the time I just fire with white stoneware that I get from Flint Hills. Sometimes there's a fold or bump or lump in the clay that doesn't pull out well, and so I just pull it off like that. Until I got a consistent piece of clay for the handle, consistently smooth and even, and I get my hand nice and wet there, and so it's nice and slick, so the clay has a consistent level of moisture across it. When it starts getting too dry, I get a little more water on it. You can see a little break in the clay there, so it has a little bubble or fold in the clay that isn't uniform, so I take it off. it ended up translating to that kind of a defect, of a possibility of a weak spot in the handle. And the last thing you need is a handle to break when someone's trying to do something like drink from the cup. No explanation. So all my cups have a manufacturer's warranty, you could say. So that's kind of like a quality control thing. If I see something like a defect in the clay, I might as well pull it off rather than make a handle with it and then put it through the whole process, and it ends up out of the customers. And they use it for a month or 2 or 3 or whatever, and the handle breaks. And we all wonder why the handle broke. Someone would say, well, we were just washing the dishes and it broke. Yes, that is how it happens. All right, so that is another set of 7 handles pulled. For the last 7 cups on this board. So, turn this board around to make it easier to get to them. Keep them as moist or consistently moist as possible. There's a interesting ratio, I call it, of dimensions that are just naturally humans and their inclination. We don't even realize it, but it's the rule of thirds, or the golden rule. And it just looks balanced when you're within those measurements. So the size and shape of a handle with respect to the form overall not even consciously aware of it, we just naturally follow the form and function of what's considered to be balance. Sometimes without even knowing why. Sometimes the sponge is required to just touch up little edges. And before they get fired, they get touched up one more time. Ta-da! I believe my lovely wife. I hear a door outside, a possibility of a car. She's been out watching movies with her niece. And so I wonder if that was my neighbor coming home or if it was her. And since nobody's come up to the door and knocked on the door to have me open it, I don't think it was her. It must be the neighbors coming home. Ta-da! We're going to have a party. We're going to be done with these cups. And you have seen it here in first full living color. Yes. You have seen them done here. More handles than most would care to see in a lifetime. My journey of 1,000 handles. How did it all begin? Ta-da! Reorganize a little bit here. I feel like they're bumping each other far too much. Coming down to the last. Next to the last. Coming down to the next to the last. Coming down, down, down. Here we go. Here we go. And it's always so funny when one of them falls off. When I pick them up like this and turn them over and start to make this connection every so often, one of them just falls off. It's like, really? So I kind of expect it's going to happen or could happen at any time. But not today. No tragedy today. And now, this is the last handle for this order of 30 cups, mugs, latte mugs. So I see a lot of little things that I would change as an artist in these, but that's part of the art. Now, so thank you very much for watching. I was in a museum looking at a piece of pottery made in China, found at some point in some archaeological thing. And I was looking at it pretty closely, and the guy that runs that floor and was walking over and asking me what I thought about it. And I looked at it and looked at him and pointed out some issues that showed the pottery marks left by the potter on it. And of course, this piece of pottery came out of some Qin dynasty thing and some emperor's personal collection, apparently, that was buried with him. And here on this piece of pottery, when they glazed the pottery, they had fingerprints. I don't know if you're familiar with that idea, but when you glaze something, quite often there's like a fingerprint on it. You leave a little potter's mark, and I really was amazed to see those little potter marks made by a potter at some point, you know, like 700 AD, 800 AD. Some beautiful beautiful work. But it was cool to see that. And when I pointed them out to the curator of the show, it added more interest to the form and to the piece. All inspiring, but that makes 30 cups. Latte cups. Thank you so much.